you can draw this in Procreate. You can create this Dia de los Muertos skull in Procreate by just using the brushes that are already in the app. During this fun tutorial, we will be using the symmetry tool, and we will easily color line work by using a layer as reference. So I'm sure that you can create this skull. All you have to do is follow the tutorial all the way till the end, and do be sure to share your work on Instagram once you're finished and tag me in the image, not just in the description, because that way I will be able to find your work and perhaps we'll see your work in the next You Can Draw This video. Now let's get started. First of all, the canvas. It's 2500 by 2500 pixels. And I have created a color palette in case you want to use the exact same colors as I'm using during this video. All you have to do is follow the link in the description to download the color swatches for free. But of course, do feel free to use your own colors, and if you do want to use these, then also be sure to set your color profile for your canvas to sRGB IEC long code after that. That way, your colors should look the same. First thing we'll do is go to the layer menu, click these two squares, and then click background color. And we will set it to black. Then we'll go back to the layers and go to layer 1. This is where we'll use white. And for the brush, we will use the monoline brush. Let's zoom out just a little bit. I have the size of the brush set to 4%, but it doesn't really matter that much for this phase of the drawing. First thing we'll do is create a circle. So just draw a circle. Hold your pen in place and then tap one finger on the screen to create a perfectly round circle. Now I want the circle to be in the center of our canvas, so let's go to the arrow to the move tool. And now if we go to snapping, that's a new feature in Procreate 5X, and turn on snapping. Now we can easily snap it to the center of our canvas. Let's move it to about here. I think that's a nice place. And then you can just click the arrow again to get out of that menu. And now it's time to turn on the symmetry tool. You can go to the wrench in the menu here, then to canvas, and then turn on drawing guide. Now you'll have to go to edit drawing guide, and you'll find symmetry right over here. Now we can't really see the line. Let's change the color a bit. You can use the slider at the top to change the color. Let's go for a blue. And here you can adjust the opacity so it's easily visible on our black canvas. Then click done, and we can start creating a symmetrical skull. Do be sure to check in your layer menu if the layer is set to assisted. If not, then you can just click it and turn on drawing assist. As long as drawing assist is turned on, everything will be symmetrical. Whatever you draw on the left side will also show up on the right side. First we'll draw the jawline. We'll start about here and go straight down, and then make a jaw. Make that line meet in the center. And don't worry if you can't get it right away. You can just tap with 2 fingers, undo your stroke, and try again until you get that jaw that you like. Next up is the cheekbone. We'll start here on the left side and make that cheekbone make a kind of a bulge. So just start here, make a rounded shape to create that cheekbone. Now we can fill our skull by just dragging in that circle onto our shapes. And in case everything is flooding or you are having a slight line right around the edge, then you might need to adjust your fill threshold. You can do that by dragging in the color and then moving to left or right to adjust that threshold. You can go all the way to the right, and then it'll fill the entire screen. You just want to be just left of that, so your entire shape is filled. Now let's create a new layer on top. We'll go to the layer menu, click the plus, And we want symmetry turned on this layer as well. So we'll click the layer and turn on drawing assist here. And for the color, we will go to black. And also let's turn on clipping mask, because that way whatever we draw will only show up on that skull layer. We can start out with the eyes. Let's make an oval. Hold your pen in place. And you can go to edit shape here at the top to move that eye around, or actually it's not an eye, it's an eye socket, of course. And you can make it a bit bigger, just the shape, until you have an eye socket that you like. I think I'll go for something like this. Now let's fill that shape by dragging in that black. Next, let's create a nose hole. And we'll do that by creating an upside down heart shape. Let's start about here and create a heart shape like this. And then we'll drag in the color again to fill it. And in case you want to adjust the shape of that hole a bit, an easy way to do that is by going to the magic wand and then using liquefy. You can use the push option and you can just move around areas of that nose hole. And since you are using symmetry on this layer, whatever you do on the right side will also show up on the left side, keeping your skull perfectly symmetrical. And you can just click the magic wand again to get out of the menu. Now let's give our skull some teeth. Let's start right here where that cheekbone and the jaw are meeting, right in that corner. We'll start there, go down a bit, and then make that line meet in the center. Now look at this happy little skull. He looks a bit like an old smiling man without teeth. So let's give him some teeth. Let's start creating teeth here in the center by making these arches like that. Move to the outside, creating a row of teeth and making them smaller as you move to the outside. Small one here and a very little one over there. And we'll do the same thing at the bottom. Let's go to the right this time. And just mimic the teeth at the top. Make sure they connect. Now that we have our basic skull, we can start decorating it. Let's do that on a new layer. And do be sure to turn on drawing assist again, because that way everything will look symmetrical. And just to be sure, let's turn on clipping mask as well, so we won't go outside of the shape of that skull. And here you can just go all out. You can add whatever decorations you like. So let's get started. First, I want to add like a flowery shape on the outside of that eye socket. Just make these arches going all the way around that socket like this. And if you are having trouble making smooth lines, what you can do is go to your brush settings and turn up the streamline. You can just click the brush, go to stroke path, and then turn up streamline. That way you'll get smoother lines even if you tend to make wobbly ones. Let's make a shape here on the forehead, making it meet here at the center, and make a smaller one like a little petal right next to it. Now I want to create flowers at the top of the head. I'll make a circular shape here. And you can just hold your pen in place to make it snap to a perfect arch. And let's add some petals. You can use very simple shapes. And we can add some touches to the petals, these little strokes, to give them a little bit more interest. And let's add some leaves as well. And I'll make a leaf over here, make a curved line. You can go for all kinds of shapes. You can look up some examples of these Dia de los Muertos skulls on Pinterest, for example, and get inspired to create all of these nice patterns on the skull. Let's make some circles here. I'll hold my pen in place and hold a finger on my screen to make it snap to perfect circles. I'll just create a little row. And you can go to edit shape, even to move it around. Now I want to add a little heart here at the top. And we'll start here at the center line of that symmetry tool line and create a heart shape like this. Let's add a little heart here as well. And some petal shapes. Perhaps a circle here. Now let's add some stuff here at the side, maybe a nice looking curl with some petals. And I want to move down and let's add some lines around the nose, following that shape, that heart shape, like that. And I want to make some droplet shapes just below the eyes, below the eye sockets. And creating stuff like this is just really relaxing because there aren't any rules. You can create your own style, your own patterns, add your own stuff to your skull. So I'm really looking forward to seeing all of your work, all of your ideas in your skulls. Let's create a heart here just underneath the nose. And we can also follow the shape of the teeth here. Following those arches all the way to the center. And let's add some dots here. I'll just make them black. Now I'll make an arch here. I want to make another flower here at the bottom with some simple petals and of course some leaves. If you are finding these tutorials in Procreate, if you find them relaxing, then do be sure to check out my Patreon page as well, because there are a lot more video tutorials there, ranging from beginner level to more advanced levels. So lots of content there if you can't get enough. I think we have enough decoration on our skull, so it's time to color everything. One thing I do want to be sure of is that the shapes on the outside are closed, because if they are not closed, then we can't fill them. Then all the paint will just leak out. So let's go check that. The way we can do that is by turning our background to white for a second. And now we can close all those shapes. Do be sure that you're on the right layer, and also make sure that you turn off clipping mask, because now it's clipped to the skull and we don't want that. And now make sure that you close these shapes. Now these are closed, these flowers. I can see I have messed up in some areas adding random strokes. That's okay. Let's close this one and let's close this flower here. Alright, now we have closed all the shapes. We can turn clipping mask back on and we can make the background black again. So just click the background color, click black, and it's black again. Time to color everything in our skull. First thing we'll do is we'll merge the layer with the eye sockets, the nose, and the teeth with all the decorations that we made. So just pinch them together. And now that they are merged, we are going to set this layer to a reference. You can click the layer and find it here. Set it to reference. And now when we make layers underneath it, we can fill those layers with colors. And it'll take these lines into account. It's like filling this layer, but then on another layer. Am I making sense? You know, let's just do it and you'll see what happens. Let's first click that skull and make a new layer between the skull and our reference layer. And also let's turn on drawing assist, because that way whatever we fill on the right side or the left side, it will also show up on the other side. Now this layer is completely empty, but you'll see that if we pick this pink color, for instance, and drag it onto our flower here, it'll fill that shape. Because that layer with the lines, that's the reference layer. So we can fill everything that we want to be pink. We can just drag in the color onto our shapes. And let's also fill all of these little arches around the eye socket. Now let's speed this up a little bit. There we have filled lots of shapes with pink. If you want full control over all of the colors in your skull, then you can choose to put each color on a separate layer. That way it becomes very easy to adjust the colors later on. You can just go to the magic wand, then go to Use Saturation Brightness, click on Layer, and you can use the Use slider to change the color. Now I'll just reset it because I want to keep the pink, but keep this in mind, if you put all the colors on separate layers, you can play around with them later on. Now let's click the plus for a new layer. Be sure to turn on drawing assist again for the symmetry tool. And now let's fill some shapes with red. And you know, let's speed this up again. Now we'll create a new layer on top of this one for another color. Again, do make sure you turn on drawing assist. And now let's pick the blue. And let's start filling shapes again. And finally, let's create a layer for our greens. And again, click it to turn on drawing assist. Let's go to the green in the color palette and let's start filling more shapes. Of course, you could also do this without drawing assist, but then you'd have to fill both the shapes on the left side and on the right side. So this just saves a lot of time. And here that shape around the teeth. And there we have all our shapes, all our patterns filled, all on separate layers, so you have full control and you can play around with those. Now have fun creating your own Dia de los Muertos skull. I hope you enjoyed following this tutorial. If you did, then you might like my other You Can Draw This videos as well, or perhaps my Skillshare classes, which you can find through the link in the description. Or of course, you can just start with these two videos over here. Thanks for watching.